it's MK, and I am here with a mixed media mayhem recipe for you guys today. I am also playing along with the prompt for Scraptember 2023, and these are the supplies and goodies that I have pulled out, and it seems like a lot. So I've got these two photos of a mile marker that it's actually a historical marker here in Nevada, and then I took a close-up so I could read it later or forever. I also have some fibers here. This one is Sahara Sand. That is the Stampin' Up! Number there by Stampin' Up! And it's just this lace. I also have this lace that is called Vintage Crochet Trim. I love this type of trim, you guys. And it is also by Stampin' Up! And there is the number if you guys want to try to find it. But I know mine is a couple years old, maybe even older. I also found this self-adhesive burlap. I have no idea where it came from, but I'm going to try to get it used up. And then for these particular photos of this series, well, not for this series and videos, but for the series of photos that I have, because I've got quite a few pictures, I bought this Simple Vintage Essentials kit that is just really old. Like, it's not old, but it just seems like old newspaper clippings, old bindings, old clipboards, old things like that, old inkwell pens, stuff like that. So I really wanted to use this collection for this series of photos because of what the photos are about. And so I purchased this collection. It gathered it up, and then I also put it for sale in my shop. Not that I'm, upselling myself or anything, but I thought maybe other people would have something that they would want to document using this collection, because I'm going to end up documenting a station that was vital to the Pony Express in Nevada. And so I will explain that a little bit later. So part of the Mixed Media Mayhem recipe is you need to have vellum, a pattern background, and then fiber. So I've picked up my fiber. I have a piece of vellum that's going to play a semi-roll. And then I thought that paper with the old world, with the map on it, was also vellum because it was in my vellum stash. But then once I actually adhere it and figure it all out, I realize it's not vellum. It's more like a newsprint, actually super thin copy paper. So I pulled out all of these papers, and I'm going to show you guys really quickly what is in this paper collection, because I might want to use something else other than the world map. But the world map makes a lot of sense because we were getting letters and telegrams and things like that from across the country. I mean, this was before we had the mail system, and we used the train to deliver our mail. We had the Pony Express, and so I thought it was pretty cool. But this particular station was actually a hub for Nevada's telegram office. And so just north of the remnants of where this station lives is where you can find, if you walk just a little path that they have for you guys, you can see the remnants of where the telegraph station was. Well, when they put in the railroad, which is, I want to say north of where this station lives, when they put in the railroad, it basically called no more need for this station and the several people that worked it. So they abandoned it and let it deteriorate over time. And then, of course, as the Pony Express becomes part of our history, and we have stations for it and monuments saying where it's at, you can actually follow the trail of the Pony Express through state to state if you ever find the time. I would love to, because it is getting off the beaten path. And some of them are forgotten. Some of them are just little iron posts that say this is, one of the pony stops to rest and whatnot. Some of them were old stations that were manned by the military, things like that. And so I think it's really, really cool that people are trying to preserve these. At least here in Nevada. I'm not sure about the other states, but at least here in Nevada, I think it's really cool. And it's my goal to catch all of these mile markers or Pony Express markers and be able to document them. I'm not sure if I'm going to document them in a row because they aren't numbered in a row. They're all over the place, to be honest. But it is kind of cool that I can look up these and actually get a map of where all these historical markers live in Nevada or in any state, actually, and then make a plan of it to go visit them. So anyways, I just definitely wanted to pick up this collection because it is about how we used to communicate. It's all about writing letters, all about important information that some of those writers carried, government letters, bills that were paid. They carried a lot of money, and that's how people did all sorts of stuff through the Pony Express, which is the mail system back in the day. And so I think it's really cool. I really wanted to use this map because it did take up quite a bit of the United States. I think it ended in Mississippi or Missouri. I get those two states confused. But yes, it's, went from California all the way over to one of those M states. I think it was Missouri, but I can't remember if it was Mississippi or not. But Nevada went straight through Nevada and, a couple other states that it went all the way across to. And a pony can only ride so far before it needs to rest. The driver or the rider needs to sleep. They both need to eat. They both need to drink, things like that. And especially going through Nevada where it was underdeveloped. And so they made these stations out in the middle of absolutely nowhere before they realized where Nevada was headed, like I-80 is nowhere near this particular station. And so it's kind of one of those things that, this is a straight path type of deal. And so this is where we're going to build it, even though that's not where Nevada ended up developing. So anywho, I am taking my, what I thought was vellum paper, ended up being just a very super thin, copy paper, thin paper. And I glued it to my corrugated paper just by some gel medium that I had. I don't really know exactly what it's called or even where I picked it up, but that's what I have. And now then I sanded it using a really, really heavy grit sandpaper. I'm not really sure. I think it's like a 60 or an 80. It was really super gritty. And now I'm kind of gluing down my edges that popped up and didn't get well glued down but left me this really cool pattern. I'm taking those and gluing them down using this brand new Ranger product called Grit Paste, Grit Grit Paste. And this one comes in the Crypt color, which is like a cement brownish grayish color, and it's got flecks of black inside it. I really think it's cool. It's definitely going to look like a tombstone when it is all said and done, and dried and whatnot. But it did take a long time for it to dry. Like I had to come back the next day to finish this because I don't know if it was because I put it on so thick or if it's because it is what it is. I'm not really sure. So the next day later, I am going to work on my fibers. So I wanted to rip this in half, and that was not going to happen. I think it's because of the adhesive on the back. So I went ahead and just wonkily cut it. That's a word. And I used my edge distresser to start fraying it. And then I realized, well, it's a little too new. I didn't want it to look like that. So I started to distress it using just some brown, and I realized, well, I'd like to draw attention to the fact that the Nevada sign is in blue. So I pulled out this blue, I think it's called Prized Ribbon. It might be Faded Jeans because that's what I had on my desk. I think it is Faded Jeans now that I say that. And I went ahead and just, inked the edges. I wasn't trying to ink every single last little bit of this. I just wanted to give it that blue hue. So now I'm taking the sticky off, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap my crocheted trim along the edge. Now I do have some burlap lace ribbon that this is already done for me. The burlap is that natural burlap color, and then the lace is a different color. I think I have dark blue. I think I have off-white, green, and then another color, maybe even gray. But yeah, they weren't working for me. I think it's because the lace is on both sides, and I just wanted to make a border of one side. And so I went ahead and I built my own using these 3 fibers. And this is what my lace looks like in the end. And I really like it. I like the fact that it's not perfect. And I was going to put it right along where my rip turned out, which is almost from top to bottom in my page. But then I realized that it just doesn't work right there. That's so random, and I don't have any other pattern papers picked out other than the one that I planned on using for the background. So yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. So I'm going to put it all the way over on my right hand side because I really want to use the strip, but really have no use for it. So I'm going to go ahead and it's going to live over there on the right. And now I'm going to build my cluster. Because I want these pictures to look like they're on old postcards, old letters, old bills, documentation, things like that, things that would have made it their way through the Pony Express at one point in time of their lives. And this little historical marker actually tells you the history of this station. It's actually called the Rock Creek Station, but the Nevadans actually called it a different name, and it was actually called the Spring. I can't remember the Spring. Oh, Coal Springs Station, and that is because of the fact that the coal mine was nearby. So that was one of the things that. They, instead of it being known as Rock Creek, the locals called it Coal Springs. And like I said, it was a major hub for the telegraph office within Nevada, within northern Nevada. And so if you had a telegram from one side of the country to the other, this is where it lived, and then the writer would take it to California until California got its telegraph. So it depended on where you were sending the telegraph. This is the closest station. Then they would write it down, and then it would be delivered within the area. Now, granted, this is in the 1800s, so it's not like every town had a telegraph station or an operator or anything like that. They were few and far between because of, well, for one, the price of them. So they basically stationed them centrally within, well, at least within Nevada. I can't speak for any other state. And at the time, this was pretty much central Nevada because it's just north of Austin, if you guys know where that is. And so it is kind of right smack dab in the middle of the entire state. And then the writer would take their pony and either go north, south, east, or west with wherever the telegram needs to go. And so that is basically why this one was so popular. It was also very, very large. There was 4 to 5 compounds for the people that worked at the telegraph building. And then, of course, took care of the horses, maintained the horses that lived there on a permanent basis. Because the riders, when they came in with their products and whatnot, and to rest their horse, they wouldn't continue with the exact same horse. They would actually take a fresh horse that stayed in the corrals here, and then go forward with a different horse. And then, of course, if that was his favorite horse or whatever, he would come back. It just depended on where that rider would go. I don't know if that makes any sense. I hope it does. But there was a lot of dangerous territory going through. There was a lot of people trying to rob the Pony Express riders. Like I said, sometimes they carried a lot of money. Sometimes they didn't carry any money, but nobody knew that. They weren't marked. They were just plainclothes people, and most of them were teenagers, to be honest. Most of them were kids that needed a job, and that were young enough to withstand the heat and the ride and whatnot, as long as their horse could. without having to stop and you know, well, rest their butt, to be honest. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things, and to think about, you know, the age of these riders. And so, you know, they called them bandits back in the day, would actually just be waiting out in the bush, knowing that this was a path for the Pony Express, and they would be robbed. And then that's why some of these stations along the path were military owned, because then they were, you know, close by in case one of the riders did end up getting robbed, and then they could, you know, try to recover or prevent that. So they started stationing the military in the bushes as well. So it just is a really super cool story, you guys. If you're ever at all interested in learning about the Pony Express, just outside of my little town in Hunter, we have a station called the California Trail, and they talk quite a bit about the Pony Express as well as the California Trail when people were headed over to the Sierras trying to get to California. So anyways, it's just fascinating. I love history. I really do. So thanks a lot for hanging out with me today. I didn't talk a thing again about my layout. I apologize about that. I do have 2 links down below for Mixed Media Mayhem. One is for the Facebook group, if you guys have not joined. In order to check out the second link, you will have to go and join the Facebook group. But the second one is just directly to the album if you want to go and see all the awesome people that are using this, all the awesome creations for those that are using this particular recipe. We try to put together 3 or 4 recipe, or 2 to 3 items to show you guys how easy it is to make a mixed media creation just using a few things. You don't have to use everything you own to make a mixed media background or a mixed media layout of any kind. I also have a list of the folks that started Mixed Media Mayhem with us before we decided that we were just going to open it all up to everyone and anyone can play along. But we do still have a few gals that are regulars. So their channel links are down below. And then, of course, Scraptember. I've got 2 links down below for that. One is a playlist for those that are playing along here on YouTube. And then, of course, the Facebook group if you want to go and check out the album over there as well. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. As always, I really, truly appreciate it. And I will check y'all later. Bye.